Welcome to a new feature on my channel, something I've been meaning to do for a while, which is review Doctor Who Big Finish audio releases. And for the moment I'm just doing this looking at my computer screen because I, as of yet, have not found out or come up with a better way of doing it. But anyways, that's coming up today on my show. So we're going to start with the Companion Chronicles. This is the fourth season, second episode, or second story, The Glorious Revolution. This features Fraser Hines reprising his role as Jamie McCrennan. And actually, out of all the Companion Chronicles, probably two of my favorites are the two he's been in so far. Mainly because he does probably about the best impression of Patrick Troughton I've ever seen, to the point where, or well, not seen but heard, but to the point where it's actually eerie. Of course, that would be the second Doctor, who passed away back in the 1980s. So this I would probably give 4.5 out of 5. I like the first one, which I'm going to profile in another video a little better because, well, I tend to prefer the science fiction stuff, and this is more in historical, but really, other than the fact that historicals generally aren't my favorite, this is an excellent release. And then another one, Prisoner of Peladon, which kind of takes over from some of the third Doctor stories, the Curse of Peladon, which probably a lot of people know. But the cool thing about this, David Troughton, son of former Doctor Who Patrick Troughton, reprises his role from the original series. This one, I would almost like to hear his Patrick Troughton's son do a couple Doctor Who stories, as he actually does a fairly close impression too, although oddly enough not as close as Fraser Hines. This is a third Doctor Who story, John Pertwee, who unfortunately died back in, or passed away back in 1996. But no, it's kind of a whodunit type of story, but definitely worth it. And if you're in Canada, you can order the downloads of Big Finish for $8.50. These, I don't purchase the actual CDs, I buy download subscriptions, and yes, I do pay for these. They're a small company, and I don't want to, I hate being preachy, but they're one that I would recommend supporting. But anyways, now on to some of the more recent main range releases. Here I'm going to go back as far as July's release. This is number 123, The Company of Friends. For those of you who don't know, this stars Paul McGann, who was in the Doctor Who TV movie, but they've actually been continuing his series. In fact, he was probably, you could say, the longest running Doctor, who was currently the Doctor from 1996 to 2005. Actually, I think he'd be tied with Sylvester McCoy, technically. But anyway, so they started doing these on audio in 2000, kind of picked up where the TV movie left off. Split it off into another range a few years ago. But this is the first time since 2007 they've had a Paul McGann on the main Big Finish range. At some point I'll do the 8th Doctor series. These are all double discs. Those are just single disc releases. The first one was actually aired on BBC 7. But this one kind of profiles for other companions. Well, one of them Big Finish fans will know is Bernice Summerfield. For those of you who don't know, in the book range, she was a companion of the Doctor, and then had a spin-off series that, well, it's still ongoing. It's been ongoing for, I think, about 11 years now. It's actually the first thing that Big Finish started doing. Then we head off to... Now, actually, what they've also recently started doing with the other three Doctors being, well, the ones that do it, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy, they started doing little mini-series of kind of 3 stories. And this one is, like I said, for those of you who follow the range, this is kind of the final story arc of India Fisher's character Charlie Pollard, who was actually a companion with the 8th Doctor throughout about 7 years on the main range, anyways, almost 8. And then she moved over to this one with a cool little story arc, Patient Zero. This is Dalek story, which they do tend to do quite a few on the Big Finish range, although I think this is actually probably one of the best ones, sort of a surreal type of story. Then we go on to the second one, Paper Cuts. Probably the weaker out of the three of them, but still definitely an enjoyable story. And then we go on to the Forgotten Planet, and this probably has one of the best soundtracks of any of the Big Finish releases I've ever heard. Actually, well, it sounds like a actual motion picture soundtrack, so it's pretty cool to check out. And this is the last story featuring Charlie, which I'm not going to, for those of you who haven't listened to it yet, who do follow these, I'm not going to wreck the end for you, but it's, I guess they've built it up to be somewhat emotional. I think they kind of left it hanging a little bit, where we could have used a little bit more completion, and after listening to it you'll probably see why, but it's still definitely worth listening to, and I'd say this is probably in my top 20. And for those of you who don't know Big Finish, Colin Baker is probably, out of the 4 Doctors that are doing them, by far the best. He has pretty much completely reinvented his specific Doctor from the TV show. And you can kind of tell, if he hadn't been axed prematurely, probably where he would have taken the character. And also later on this year, they're going to be doing audio releases of the lost season. Between season 22 and 23, the show had gone on hiatus for 18 months, but there was actually a full season. While some scripts have been finished, some were prepared, some were in the planning stages. But what Big Finish has done is they've gone back to those, and they've recorded audio versions starring Colin Baker and Nicole Bryant. So yeah, so it'll definitely be worth checking out, and that's something that I'm definitely going to cover on these series. And like I said, I don't know exactly how I'm going to be doing these reviews. I've got a few ideas, but I figured I'd start it or I'd never actually get it going. So this is my first Big Finish review, which this wasn't really in depth, just kind of an introduction to the series. And I'm going to be doing a lot of overviews of someone who, for people who may want to get into the Big Finish range, you know, some stories that you might want to check out. But anyways, that's everything for today. So, as I say always, I'll see y'all soon.